it's mixed there. This thing is also there. This, it's a vim, it's a mixture. Then the master of it is a heroin. Yeah, it's where I think they diluted it. It's not that strong. Or maybe if you on yourself are ruining at the same time.
I kind of like wanted to be high all the time.
For a day, I have to spend 120. Yeah, and you need to say 3 bags a day. If at one, if I need to my old lady, I can do anything. If you are my mom, you're wearing a necklace, I can take it, fighting you, mom, just to get this thing. Anything, furniture, TV, pots, everything I take just to get this thing.
A very warm good evening, South Africa, and welcome to Sunday Live. My name is Tumelo Mututwani. Well, you have just watched a clip revealing the ingredients of the highly addictive, dangerous and destructive street drug popular amongst South African youth known as Nyaope. Well, the cocktail drug contains heroin, contains dagga, and in some instances rat poison, and it has been notoriously plaguing communities as youth increasingly become addicts. Now, after a year-long wait for the amendment of the Drugs and Drug Trafficking Act 140 of 1992 to classify the street drug Nyaope as of 28th March 2014, the drug is now officially illegal. Now, people caught using Nyaope can be sentenced to up to 15 years in prison, and those arrested for selling the concoction can face up to 25 years in jail. But now we're asking you tonight, should Nyaope addicts be sent to jail for using the drug? You can SMS yes or no to the number 34065. You can join the conversation on our social media page. On Facebook, we are Sunday Live on SABC1. You can tweet at Sunday Live SABC1 or tweet me at T_Mututwani with the hashtag Sunday Live SA. Now, in studio with us to take us through the Nyaope drug issue in the country, we have Professor Yanni Hugo, of course, the head of Department of Family Medicine at the University of Pretoria. We're also joined by Grant Allman, the director at Home Detox SA. And before I get into our discussion with them, please welcome our studio audience as well to the conversation. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Professor, I want to start this one with you. I'm going to give you the poll question. Do you think that, with the high rate of, Nyaope drug use in the country, especially amongst the youth, with the number of communities being affected by, these drug-related crimes, do you think that drug addicts, specifically those using Nyaope, should be sent to jail?
Yeah, I talk to you as a doctor and a health professional, and for us it's clear that the addiction to drugs, and specifically Nyaope, in our community is a very serious health problem, and it needs to be addressed as a health problem. And my point is that we need to focus on the care and helping people who are on the drug because of the health issues, including how it interacts with TB, HIV, and all those things, and that we should not have a specific direct response of, say, fighting crime. We should rather focus on care and rehabilitation and helping to diminish the harm that's caused by this drug.
Now, Professor, I want you to also clarify something. In a newspaper report dated the 8th of August 2015, the Sowetan to be more specific, I quote you saying that legalize the drug. I'm not apologetic about it. I know there might be other effects, but we work with Nyaope addicted children, and I'm telling you, it would be better if this thing was legal. There's been a whole lot of, outcry in the media with this statement, with, people thinking that you are actually advocating for the Nyaope drug to be legalized. Is that the case?
Okay. Let me make it clear, I'm not talking to you as a criminologist. I just say, I report that from the care we give on the streets, the fact that it's a criminal issue doesn't help us. It makes it more difficult. Therefore, I say, we should seriously consider to decriminalize, but not just Nyaope, it's about all addictive drugs. And we should rather spend public and private and society effort to care and reduce the harm that's caused by this, rather than, and I think if you listen to the discourse in society, such a lot of energy goes into crime fighting. And it's not just Nyaope, everything. The whole discourse in society is fighting crime. I say, this problem is a health problem. Don't pull it into the fighting crime area now. This is a health issue. Address it as a serious priority, as a health issue.
Well, let's find out how Home Detox SA deals with the challenge. Grant, thank you so much for your time this evening. How do you deal with your day-to-day, challenges of trying to stop, the Nyaope drug from infiltrating in all communities? I mean, you obviously get calls, have a full database of, Nyaope addicts or other drug, addicts. But how do you deal with the challenges of Nyaope?
Nyaope is quite interesting in that it's spreading south. It started in Joburg. We've watched it over the last 2 years really move southwards towards Cape Town. Look, I mean, the main problem is getting them from the physical addiction. It's heroin, essentially. I think there's a lot. It's been rebranded. They've essentially rebranded heroin as Nyaope. That's the reality. So we're dealing with heroin addiction. We need to detox these people properly. We can do it at their home. One of the major problems we face is lack of funding. I mean, the communities that are affected by Nyaope are typically very poor communities. So the people contacting us, they've got very little money. So we try all we can to get involved and actually provide support where we can. But it's the physical detox is the main part to get out of the way, because it's heroin, essentially.
What do you think also about just, criminalising drug users and having them being sent to jail? What's your take on that?
I think it's archaic. It's completely backwards. If you're criminalising recreational use, you're taking away people's hope. And that's the worst thing we can deal with, is someone who's got criminal records through petty drug use, non-violent. Rehabilitating them's fine, and detoxing them. When you try and put them back into society, now they can't get a job because they've got problems. So, I mean, the key is to give someone a goal and an ambition. They need to be positive. Yeah. The last thing we should be doing is criminalising people who are suffering from addiction, which is based on mental health. And
Professor Hugo, as a healthcare, professional and expert, what grip do you think Nyaope has on young people in the country? What do you think Nyaope has that makes young people keep going back to it?
I think the heroin, which is an opioid addiction, is a very strong addiction that changes some things in the brain physically. So it's actually useless to say to a person, pull yourself together and stop doing it. The replacement drugs, the substitution drugs, is there, it's registered, it works, and that is the way to do. Give them within a comprehensive program like Grant is doing, give them the replacement drug so that their head can become clear, they can start to focus on positive things. So it is really something that needs a comprehensive program from home, social, psychological, but also the replacement drug must be available. And that's what I'm advocating for that replacement drug and that way of management be available in the public sector as a priority. And this is what we're working on.
And Ron, just to get back to you and just speaking about your home-based program, which we'll get back to, of course, a little bit later on. But with the research you have done, until you get to a point where you found the program best suited for the Nyaope drug addict, what grips have you found in Nyaope as an organisation that makes the user to also keep going back?
So the physical addiction, it's heroin. If you speak to any Nyaope user, I imagine you'll get them on the phone. They physically can't stop. They become very sick. And what's horrible is a lot of the Nyaope users don't actually realise it's heroin. That's why they're getting into it, because it's masked up with DACA to make it look like it's something else. They've got physical heroin addiction. That's the truth. That's why they're going back. They have to go back.
And besides physical, do you think it's also a social issue?
There is a psychological thing. I mean, it's a picture of the bigger community. People are using drugs for the wrong reasons. They've got no opportunity. They've got no hope. They're upset, they're disgruntled with society and stuff. That's how people turn to drugs in the first place. This one just catches them with its physical addiction. And they get very sick when they try and withdraw without the right medication, as the professor said.
And I think what we also need to understand in our society, where there's a very high HIV rate, a very high tuberculosis rate, that this addiction networks with those serious problems, because a person that's addicted doesn't give a damn about his health. The whole management of TB, the HIV issue is very serious because people move from Nyaope to injecting. And this is why I say, when you deal with Nyaope, you deal with HIV and TB and other health issues, and therefore it needs to be a priority within the public sector.
Well, I'm asking you the question this evening. Do you think that Nyaope addicts should be criminalized and sent to jail? Well, I take your calls after this break. Call me on 011-714-8080 when Sunday Live returns. Okay, so let's see the hands. Guys.
Yeah, take a few.
I think I'll take 3 this side and 2 this side. So just to be fair, and then we'll come back, because we'll do it back and forth. Point. If you have comments, very short. If you have questions, very short, because we literally have 6 minutes. Welcome back to the program. Well, if you've just joined us, we are discussing Nyaope and asking you the question at home, if Nyaope addicts need to be sent to jail for using the drug. You can always call me on 011-714-8080. That's the number to dial, and of course to be a part of our poll results, which we'll have a little bit later on. You need to, of course, SMS yes or no to the number 34065. I'm going to shoot straight into our audience members. Guys, I'm sure you've been listening to the conversation throughout the show. Do you have any questions or comments so far?
Good evening. My name is Bamza Mfumo, and I'm the president of the Vets Debating Union. Mine is just a bit of a comment, could be a question at the same time, but I think we look at it as a health hazard issue, but I think it's more than that, because it's a societal issue. Because as you play the clip, those people say we will do whatever it takes to get that particular drug. So it means that they kill, they could commit crime, they could do anything it takes to do that. So I think it should be criminalized so that we deter people from continuing with doing this or being addicted to this drug. And whatever rehabilitation that maybe Prof has can be still given to these people in prison, because we just want to take them away from society, to rehabilitate them, to prepare them so that they can go back into society and conform. I think it should be criminalized. Interesting.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Do we have another question or comment, please?
Yeah, my name is Giffins. I'm representing the Progressive Youth Alliance from Vets, as well as the Vets Debating Union. My question is to the professor. In as much as he's worried about rehabilitation, I think for me it would be more effective if you have these people in a space of reach rather than having them scattered. prison is a status. So doesn't he think that having them in a containment where you can monitor their progress and make sure that whatever that you want to implement as a solution becomes effective? Because it's a problem when they are scattered all over. It's going to cost a lot of money monitoring them when they are all over. As he said, we won't ensure deterrence because it's also a crime problem. We won't ensure retribution, which will also kind of like deter the suppliers themselves.
Yeah.
So doesn't he think that having them in a containment prison in this case, it's a good way to go about it?
All right, Prof, I'm going to give you a chance to answer. Just need to get more comments and we'll get back to you. Yes, gentlemen?
Right. My name is Tammy. I'm representing Project W. I think what I want to talk about is like the familial issue that comes with Nyaope, because again, it's more than just the health issue. Because if you make it compulsory to sentence people to prison for using the drug, you actually exacerbating the issue of breaking up families within that particular society that they're living in. And that's the first problem you're creating. And secondly, prison is simply not conducive for rehabilitation at all. We see criminals that become worse off, far worse than they were before they got in the first instance into the prison system. So I agree with the professor that more resources should be used in order to actually help and treat these people as a result.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's just take one last question, then I'll give Prof a chance to answer.
Hi, my name's Tristan with Project W. I believe that while the manufacturing and distribution should stay illegal, to criminalize the use of it doesn't actually de-incentivize its use. These people are still going to use it because the criminal ramifications, I don't think, outweigh the use. They're not using it and thinking, oh, I might be going to jail. They're using it because I'm hungry, I can't get food, this might suppress the hunger. You've got to remember the type of communities that this is being used in. Right, and I think that criminalizing it just becomes a barrier to treating these people and to helping repair our society, as opposed to being some sort of disincentive.
All right, thank you so much. Prof, let me take it back to you, especially with the question that was posed to you regarding, if you think it's conducive to contain them, of course, in jail in this instance and rehabilitate them there.
I appreciate the questions. I also appreciate that this is so serious that the whole nation is worried about it. First of all, we do not even think that we should do rehabilitation in normal rehabilitation centers. This is why I agree with their organization. We need to do rehabilitation within society, within families, where the person needs to function afterwards. There is very bad experience of sending people to rehabilitation centers. Apart from all the other drugs they learn to use there, it just doesn't work because he comes back in the same situation. So rehabilitation is actually restructuring somebody's whole life. And you don't restructure somebody's life in jail. So my clear answer is that jail is not the place to do rehabilitation. And to be strange in response, if you would put Nyaope users in jail because of the danger they pose to society, what will you do with people who do unsafe sex? So the point is, this is a health issue. And to put people who has dangerous health lifestyles in jail, I mean, what about the person who overeats? It's just not on. I want people, normal people in the streets, that when they think and hear about addiction, that they think, wow, this is a health issue. How can we deal with this issue?
All right, Professor, thank you so much for that response. But we're going to take a short break. But when we come back, I need Grant to also fill us in on their home-based programs. Of course, as you know, Detox Home SA is a program that tries to achieve the mandate of helping drug addicts based at home. So they're not taking them to jail, they're not taking them to a rehab center. The program is based at home. And I want to find out exactly how it works, but we'll only do this after the break. Stay tuned. back to Sunday Live. Well, our poll question for this evening asks whether Nyaope addicts need to be sent to jail for using the drug. And, we'll look forward, of course, to the engagement on Facebook. And I know that so many of, the country's, citizens are worried and they're posting on social media, on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you so much for doing so. But let's take our conversation back to the audience members who I know are dying to ask questions or comments. Yes, lady?
Hi, my name is Lerato Sitole. I'm with Project W. And I think I recognize and I care immensely about this idea of the fact that these people need this rehabilitation. It's more than just about criminalizing it, and I think for the greater good of society. But I think it's incredibly dangerous if we think about the global drug issue and the global market more important, because we do need to take in consideration the fact that the Nyaope drug contains things like cocaine, contains things like methamphetamines, contains things like heroin. And I think opening up a market for the production and the use of those particular drugs is incredibly dangerous in South Africa today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that comment. Do you have anyone else to ask a question or comment, please?
Hi, Lebogang Mologov, Vets Debating Union. I believe that decriminalizing is a much more permanent solution if, when you decriminalize, you have the resources and structures in a society to treat the given drug addiction. Because when you don't decriminalize and have it be illegal, you end up with what's happening in America, where the criminal system is backlogged. Half of the people are young black and Hispanic males, and they're in there for petty drug offenses, and they end up becoming hardened criminals. But if you legalize, you can go a situation like Portugal, where you effectively treat and stem the demand for the drug so that it no longer serves any value in the society and it's simply no longer consumed out of lack of demand.
Interesting. Thank you so much for that comment. I'll take two more. Do you have a question or comment from anyone? Yes, lady.
Hi, my name is Ntlantla from Project W. And my comment per se is to ask us to look at what a judiciary system looks to achieve when they make something illegal. It's more than just restorative or retributive, where we take people off the streets. It's also allowing them to redevelop themselves to go back into society. And my argument there then is the fact that if we take them to jail, which is already not a conducive environment with gangs and with drugs within that environment, we only expose them to further deterioration and we only further expose them to a detrimental system. But furthermore, we need to ask ourselves, if we're going to make this child a criminal beyond what they already are, when they leave that system and go back to their communities, how do they go back? When you make them a criminal, you allow society to depict them and galvanize against them and shun upon them, so they can't go back into society and grow back and be a normal person. Rehabilitation centers remove that idea that you're an animal and you're not supposed to be living in society. So rehabilitation centers are better for the child than a jail is.
All right. Thank you so much. Let me just take one last comment, please.
I completely agree with the idea that addiction is an illness, and I think it's important that we treat it as such in society. However, the problem is when we're speaking about Nyaope and similar drugs, we're not just speaking about the people who are addicted, but we're speaking about people like drug dealers who are actually making it. We're speaking about people who are going into HIV clinics and stealing ARVs for Nyaope. And this is why, while it's very important to rehabilitate people into society, perhaps it's more important to get the drug off the market first and make sure it's not legalized because of the harm that does to society and to the addicts themselves.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to our audience participation. But I have to take it back to you, Grant, as well. With all the comments that you've heard so far and with what you do, tell me more about the home-based programs.
Well, firstly, I'll go on to the ARVs in response to that question. All tests and studies, there's never been one study that has proved ARVs are in Nyaope. It's made up, it's not real, it's not true, it's not happened. Bring Nyaope here, we'll test it. We've done testing ourselves, it's not true. There's no ARVs in Nyaope. Let's clear that up as a myth. Well, what we do a home-based programme. It's completely targeting the Nyaope the problem at the moment. I mean, most of our calls are from Nyaope sufferers. We're one of the only private organisations that actually put time and effort into dealing with these people who have no money or no funding. We're trying to help communities as a whole, because I think it needs to be a whole movement. It can't just be one person gets clean, because they're still in the same environment. The professor said it needs to be a whole change. So we try and, the programme's based on cognitive therapy, so it's very basic, very simple. It's motivational. We'll try and get them into like a routine, look at their eating habits, just very basic things, a bit of exercise, stuff that gets the endorphins going, natural highs. try and get them into voluntary work. It's just something so they've got purpose and stuff. You know, if you criminalise someone on that, you take away the purpose completely, because then they can't get a job.
Interesting. Professor Hugo, before we say goodbye, do you have any closing comments for us, please?
I think this is very possible in South Africa to start to care for people with Nyaope, and I'm urging that those responsible for primary care in the country get together and work out a plan on the same scale that we have dealt with HIV. Let's deal with this problem with the same motivation and the same zeal to solve it for our society.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Professor Yanni. Hugo, of course, and yourself, Grant Allman, thank you so much for your engagement tonight, sir. And thank you so much to all of you for coming, our audience, members. Thank you so much for joining us. And a special thank you at home for joining us this evening. I don't know if you spotted, the little children that actually came to Sunday Live. And I'm just so hopeful that if we just groom the young ones from where they are right now, imagine what an impact they could have, of course, in our future. But thank you so much to our guest, Professor Yanni Hugo, the head of Department of Family Medicine at the University of Pretoria, as well as Grant Allman, the director at Home Detox SA. And once again to our studio audience, there's so much thanks to you at home for not only watching the show, but engaging. It shows that it's a national problem and we all want it to stop. So do ensure that you play your part in stopping the spread of Nyaope addiction. So thank you so much for joining me. My name is Tumelo Mototwan. I'll see you again next week Sunday. Goodbye.